Hey gang, welcome back to Behind the Vine with Brendan. Today we're making another one of my favorite cocktails. It's something I really enjoyed making. We came up with it over the summer as a replacement for another great drink, and I thought it turned out amazing and people were really happy with it, which made me really happy because it is different. So what we're making today is, I called it a new fashioned. I don't know if there's technically a term for new fashioned, but there is an old fashioned, and that's very common, very popular. Everybody knows what an old fashioned is, but we'll walk through it anyway. So typically an old fashioned gets made in a rocks glass. You'll throw in a sugar cube, a couple drops of bitters, an orange wedge, and a cherry. And you muddle all that up, fill it with ice, and then the spirit of your choice. So most common would be brandy, but whiskey and bourbon, old fashions are also somewhat popular. But I wanted to do something kind of a take on that again, the twisted way. So I made a rye new fashioned. So we're working with Dancing Goat Distillery. It's a Wisconsin distillery that makes this limousine rye here. Really wonderful spirit. They call it limousine because it does spend, so in total this one spends 5 years in oak. 4 of those years are in regular oak barrels, and then a year in a limousine oak, which is a tighter grained oak, just imparts a different flavor to it. From what I hear, it's super expensive as well. So this was the spirit that I chose to use for the new fashioned. We're also not going to be using sugar. We're going to be using Saint Germain instead. Saint Germain is an elderflower liqueur that is sweet. It's not over the top sweet, but it's pretty sweet. So we're not going to use a simple syrup or sugar. We're going to use the spirit instead. And then another change is we are using lemon instead of the orange. So we'll be using an orange bitters, but we're using a lemon. I just found that extra sharp acidity really cuts well with the sweetness from the Saint Germain. So very easy cocktail. Again, I don't like to make stuff that's 30 ingredients and takes a half an hour to make. That's not fun. So again, we're going to use these bourbon infused cherries. So I'm just going to drop that into a shaker. I'm going to cut off just a lemon wheel. Not a huge chunk, just enough to add to it. And then, again, we're not using a sugar, but so I'm just going to use a ½ ounce. So that's the smallest size of sugar that I have. We don't want to put too much in there because we're not trying to make it sweet. We're just trying to make it balanced. So we'll just muddle this up together. Forgot this part. We'll throw in a couple of drops of the orange bitters. So we're just muddling that all up together, smushing it all up as best as possible. And then we're going to throw in some ice. And again, we're using the Dancing Goat Limousine Rye. We're going to use 2 ounces of that. Very simple cocktail. That's the ingredients. And again, this isn't a cocktail you want to shake. You don't really want to shake any spirit such as whiskey, bourbon. You want to keep those from getting what's called bruised, where it's going to change, essentially affect the flavor too much. Is it something hypercritical? No. It's just what I do. Vodka, gin typically are okay to shake, unless you're using like an oak-aged gin like we've done with the Ransom. Things with citrus, tend to be okay if you shake them, but we don't need to. And then so I'm going to put that right here in what's called a coupe glass. Very common to use the same type of glass for Manhattans. I just think it's a really classy looking glass. And so I'm going to double strain this. I'm going to use strainer here. This is going to keep the ice in and the big chunks of stuff, but then this is going to keep the lemon and the cherry from leaving all its gunk into the drink. Look at that beautiful color. And there we have it. The Limousine Rye, new fashioned. So again, just taking an old fashioned, but the twisted way. That's what I do. Make sure I did it right. Perfect. This together, the elderflower with the lemon, almost gives it a grapefruit kind of note. Again, the rye kind of gives it the spice. We're using the elderflower instead of the sugar. It just makes a really nice floral version without being too sweet. I hope you guys enjoy another twisted cocktail. Cheers. I'm gonna drink this.